All right, let's dive into a world that's both familiar and full of surprises.
The world of chickens.
You got it. We're going to go beyond the clucking and scratching and really explore the minds of these feathered creatures.
I love it. Get ready for some serious chicken intelligence.
For this deep dive, you brought us excerpts from Melissa Caughey's book, How to Read a Chicken's Mind, and I have to say I'm already hooked.
It's a fascinating read, packed with insights that challenge a lot of our assumptions about chickens.
So let's start with the basics, like just how many chickens are out there? I mean, they're everywhere, right?
Oh, there are more chickens on this planet than any other bird species. Seriously. It's mind-boggling.
I believe it. Most of us have encountered a chicken or two at some point, whether it's on a farm, at a petting zoo, or even just, crossing the road.
Exactly. And that sheer number says a lot about their adaptability and resilience. Did you know they were first domesticated in Southeast Asia thousands of years ago?
Oh, I did know that. But refresh my memory. What was their initial role?
Watchdogs.
No way, really.
Yep. Their sharp senses and those loud calls made them the perfect alarm system for villages, alerting everyone to intruders.
That's incredible. So even today's backyard chickens still have those ancient instincts inside them.
Absolutely. They retain so many behaviors of their jungle fowl ancestors, from their roosting habits high up to their complex social structures.
Okay, let's talk about those social structures, especially the pecking order everyone always mentions. Is it as straightforward as it sounds?
Well, not really. It's much more nuanced than just a linear hierarchy. You've got your dominant hen at the top, sure, but chickens have these specific roles within the flock that go way beyond simple dominance.
So it's more like a well-coordinated team with each chicken playing a specific part.
Precisely. There's your head hen, the leader, maintaining order.
And I'm guessing there's a lookout, always on alert for danger.
You got it, the sentinel, perched up high, keeping a watchful eye on everything.
Wow, this is painting a much more intricate picture of chicken society than I ever imagined.
Oh, and we've barely scratched the surface. We haven't even gotten to their communication yet.
Wait, so it's more than just clucking?
Forget just clucking. Chickens have a whole symphony of sounds they use to express themselves.
All right, now you've got me really intrigued. Tell me more about this chicken language.
Well, first of all, get this. They don't even have vocal cords.
No vocal cords. How do they make any sounds at all?
They have this amazing organ called a syrinx.
Syrinx, what's that?
It's this unique vocal organ that allows them to make a way wider range of sounds than we might expect. In fact, the book even mentions this hen named Lucy. She had this really deep, raspy voice.
Oh my gosh, I can only imagine the conversations in the coop.
And it gets even more fascinating when you consider that each chicken seems to have its own distinct voice, almost like a signature.
Wow, you know what? I think I've been missing out on a whole lot of chatter in my own backyard.
I wouldn't be surprised. All those quiet murmurs, those excited little trills, the warning squawks, they're all conveying specific information.
So how do we begin to decode this chicken chatter? Like, are there particular calls they use for different situations?
Absolutely. The book is like a chicken dictionary. It actually breaks down some of these vocalizations.
Give us the highlights. What are some of the most common calls and what do they mean?
Okay, well, a simple boot up, that's their hello.
Boot up. I love it.
And when it's time to settle in for the night, you might hear a soft do-do-do, like a little lullaby.
Oh, a chicken lullaby. How sweet is that?
Right, and then of course there's that classic wah-pa sound.
Oh yeah, that one. Isn't that how they announce an egg?
Bingo, it's like their victory cry, I laid an egg. And then there's the unmistakable boogagak, that's the egg song, a celebration of their achievement.
It's amazing to think about all these layers of communication happening that we just completely miss.
It really adds a whole new dimension to how we perceive their interactions, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It makes me realize that there's just so much more going on beneath the surface than we often give them credit for. There's so much more to uncover about these amazing creatures. I feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, we definitely have. There are so many more fascinating roles within the flock.
Okay, like what besides the head hen and the sentinel?
Well, have you ever noted like one chicken that's particularly curious, always venturing into new areas of the coop or the yard?
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, there always seems to be one who's pushing the boundaries, checking out every nook and cranny.
Exactly. That's the explorer, the brave one, not afraid to try new things and potentially, discover new resources for the whole flock.
That makes sense. Every group needs a pioneer, right? Someone who's willing to forge a new path.
And then you've got the brooders, the nurturing ones driven to hatch those chicks. They play a vital role in ensuring the flock continues.
Oh, the brooders, they're like the heart of the flock, providing care and warmth to the next generation.
Exactly. And there are even roles we might not immediately think of, like the attendance taker.
The attendance taker.
Yeah, making sure everyone is safe and sound in the coop at night.
Wow, so there's one who actually keeps track of everybody? That's incredible.
It is. It's amazing how organized they are. And speaking of organization, when they're out and about foraging, there's usually a free-range monitor.
A free-range monitor. Okay, you're going to have to explain that one.
So this is the hen who keeps track of where everyone is when they're out exploring, make sure nobody gets lost or strays too far.
So they have their designated roles even when they're out and about. It's like a well-coordinated team effort.
It really is. And let's not forget the ambassadors, those social butterflies who just love human interaction.
Ah, yes, the ambassadors. Those are the ones who totally mint our hearts.
They're the ones who'll come right up to us curious and eager to see what we're doing.
They remind us that chickens can be just as interested in us as we are in them.
It's a two-way street for sure. And you know what's really interesting is how these roles can shift over time.
How so?
Well, as chickens age or new members join the flock, the dynamics change. Individuals might take on different responsibilities.
So it's not just a fixed hierarchy, it's a constantly evolving social landscape.
Precisely, each chicken adapting to the changing needs of the flock.
That is so cool. The book even had this anecdote about a low-ranking hen who actually moved up in the pecking order.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
When new chicks were introduced, she kind of took on this mentorship role, guiding the youngsters and gaining a new sense of status within the group.
It's a great example of how these roles are fluid. You know, they're not set in stone. They can adapt to different circumstances.
It really highlights just how complex their social structures are. But, let's move beyond just behavior for a second and talk about their sensory world.
Oh, yes, their senses are incredible. They experience the world in such different ways than we do.
Well, I know chickens have amazing eyesight, but how is it different from ours?
They have what's called tetrachromatic vision.
Tetrachromatic vision. I've heard of that in other animals, but what does that actually mean for a chicken?
It means they can see a much wider spectrum of light than we can, including ultraviolet light, which is invisible to us.
Wow, so they're seeing a whole world of colors and patterns that we can't even perceive. That's mind-blowing.
Imagine a world where flowers and foliage are even more vibrant, where those subtle markings on insects stand out in stark contrast. It's like having a secret visual language.
That is incredible. And their hearing is pretty amazing too, right? I've always noticed how they seem to know when a storm is coming long before we do.
Oh yeah, their hearing is super sharp. They can even detect infrasound.
Infrasound, isn't that what animals like whales and elephants use?
Exactly. Infrasound travels long distances and can be used to sense things like approaching storms or even earthquakes.
So they might actually be feeling vibrations in the earth that we're completely oblivious to.
It's very possible they're using all these sensory cues to navigate their environment and stay safe.
That's fascinating. And on top of that, they can actually regenerate their ear cells, right?
That's right. No hearing loss as they age. They keep that acute sense of hearing throughout their lives.
It's like they've got these built-in superpowers. And let's not forget about their beaks. I mean, it's not just for pecking and eating, is it?
Oh no, not at all. The beak is actually an incredibly sensitive tool packed with nerve endings.
So it's more than just a mouth. It's like a sensory organ.
Exactly. They use it to explore their surroundings in such detail, feeling textures, temperatures, even slight vibrations.
Wow, it's like a combination of our fingertips and our sense of smell all in one.
And then, of course, we have the feathers, not just for insulation and flight, you know.
The book mentioned that feathers can be used for communication too, right?
Absolutely. Think about the way a rooster will puff up his chest feathers, or a hen will rustle her wings to protect her chicks. It's all visual communication, sending signals to other chickens.
It's like their own form of body language, adding another layer of complexity to their interactions.
Exactly. And speaking of features that set them apart, we talked about the pecking order earlier, but the book also delves into black-skinned chicken braids like silkies.
Oh yeah, what's so unique about them?
Silkies, along with a few other breeds, have this genetic mutation that causes hyperpigmentation. So their skin, their meat, even their bones are black.
Wow, I had no idea. Is there a reason for that, or is it just aesthetic?
Well, it's certainly striking visually, but it also has cultural significance. In traditional Chinese medicine, that silky pigmentation is believed to have medicinal properties.
Interesting. So their unique appearance is actually tied to cultural beliefs as well. But, all this sensory input, all this information, it's all being processed by those chicken brains.
Which brings us to the big question, just how intelligent are chickens really?
Right. Are they just reacting instinctively, or is there something more going on in those little heads?
It's a question that's fascinated people for a long time.
Well, the book makes a pretty compelling case for their intelligence, highlighting their problem-solving skills, their social learning, even their ability to recall past events.
Absolutely. There's that great example of the hen who figured out how to empty the feeder to get to the hidden scratch underneath.
I think she had a plan.
She did. It shows a remarkable ability to understand cause and effect and then use that knowledge to her advantage.
That's amazing. And what about their social intelligence? I mean, they seem to learn from each other, don't
Oh,
they?
definitely. They're constantly observing each other, figuring out where they fit in the pecking order, and adjusting their behavior accordingly.
So it's not just blind instinct. They're gathering information, making decisions, based on their observations.
Precisely. And the book even talks about episodic memory in chickens,
Episodic memory.
meaning they can actually recall specific past events and use those memories to guide their future actions.
So they might remember a good foraging spot or avoid a place where they had a negative experience?
Exactly. It suggests a level of cognitive complexity that we wouldn't necessarily expect.
It definitely challenges that old stereotype of the bird brain. They're clearly capable of much more than we often give them credit for.
Absolutely. And it leads us to an even bigger question: do chickens have feelings?
That's a great question. It's like the ultimate mystery when it comes to animals.
Right? Do they simply react instinctively, or do they experience emotions in a way that's similar to us?
The book explores this question in a lot of depth. It talks about studies that have shown chickens exhibiting self-control, for example, waiting for a better reward.
Which suggests they can weigh options and make choices that benefit them in the long run.
Right, and there's also evidence of self-assessment, like their understanding of their place in the flock hierarchy.
Which implies they have a sense of self and awareness of their individuality within the group.
Wow, it's amazing to think that they might have this whole internal world of emotions and experiences that we're only just beginning to understand.
It's humbling, isn't it? And the book also shares these heartwarming anecdotes, like the story of the flock comforting the author after she experienced a personal loss.
I remember that story. It was so touching. It made me wonder if chickens are capable of empathy, of actually understanding and responding to our emotions.
It's certainly a possibility. It really makes us rethink our assumptions about what animals are capable of feeling.
So if we're accepting that chickens do emit feelings, what kind of emotions do they seem to experience?
The book explores a whole range from pride after laying an egg to fear and stress in response to threats. They also seem to experience frustration when their needs aren't met and genuine happiness when they're thriving.
It really does paint a picture of them as complex beings capable of experiencing the world in ways that are both familiar and surprising. It makes me wonder, are chickens really that different from us?
Now, that is a thought-provoking question. Are you ready to explore those surprising similarities?
I'm definitely ready to explore those similarities between us and chickens. Where do we even begin?
Well, the book draws some pretty fascinating parallels between chicken temperaments and human personality traits.
Okay, you've got to tell me more about this. I'm hooked.
So remember those brave explorer chickens, the ones who are always checking out new territory?
Yeah, the pioneers, the adventurers.
Exactly. Well, they might actually share similarities with people who are really open to new experiences. Those who score high in what psychologists call openness to experience.
Oh, that makes sense. They're both curious, adventurous, not afraid to step outside their comfort zones.
Right. And then there are those chickens who are really good at problem solving, like the one who figured out how to raid the feeder.
Ah, yes, the clever ones, the thinkers.
Exactly. Those chickens might be similar to folks who are super conscientious, organized, goal-oriented.
So like the meticulous planners of the human world.
You got it. And then, of course, there are those bold, assertive chickens, the one who always stand their ground.
They definitely have a presence, You can't miss them.
Those chickens might be exhibiting traits that are similar to extroversion in humans. Outgoing, energetic, assertive.
So the life of the party, the ones who naturally command attention.
Exactly. And then you have those sweet, sociable chickens, the ones who just love interacting with humans.
Oh, the sweethearts. The ones who make us feel all warm and fuzzy.
Those chickens might embody what we call agreeableness in humans. Friendly, compassionate, cooperative.
So like the peacemakers, the ones who bring harmony to the group.
And of course, we can't forget about those chickens who can be a bit more aggressive and dominant.
Yeah, the ones who rule the roost. Gotta have them.
Right. Well, those chickens might reflect what we called a tendency towards neuroticism in humans. More prone to anxiety, stress, or being territorial.
So maybe a bit more high-strung, a little more reactive to things.
It's pretty fascinating to see these connections, isn't it? Like between chicken temperaments and human personality traits.
It really is. Makes you wonder if there's some kind of deeper connection there. A shared kind of thread of behavior that runs through all creatures.
The book even shares some personal anecdotes that really illustrate these traits. Remember the story about Chocolate, that brave, silky rooster who wasn't afraid of anything?
Oh, Chocolate. Yeah, total embodiment of boldness. What a character.
And then there were those clever hens who outsmarted their enclosure and got into the garden. Talk about chicken ingenuity.
Always got to find a way to get what they want, right?
Exactly. But then there are those stories that, really tug at your heartstrings, like the one about Sunshine, the buff Orpington who grieved the loss of her sister.
Oh, that one was tough. I mean, it really showed a depth of emotion that I wasn't expecting.
It's a good reminder that each chicken is an individual, right? With its own personality, its own way of experiencing the world.
This whole deep dive has been incredible. It's honestly changed how I think about chickens.
What stands out to you the most?
I think what surprised me most is just how intelligent and emotionally complex they are. It's easy to underestimate them.
I think we all do it. We see them as these simple creatures, but then when you really start paying attention.
You realize there's so much more going on beneath the surface.
Exactly. And I think, that question of whether they have souls, whether they experience consciousness in a way that's similar to us, well, science might never fully answer that.
It's a question worth asking, though, isn't it? I mean, it makes you really appreciate the mystery and wonder of the natural world.
Absolutely. And it challenges us to treat all living creatures with respect and compassion.
So what do our listeners take away from all this? What do we do with all this newfound knowledge about chickens?
The biggest takeaway is simple. Pay attention. The next time you encounter a chicken, really observe it.
Listen to its calls, watch how it interacts with other chickens, with its surroundings.
You might be surprised by what you discover.
This deep dive has honestly inspired me to look at chickens with a whole new perspective.
And maybe, just maybe, it'll encourage all of us to reconsider our relationship with the animal world.
Thank you so much for taking us on this journey into the minds of chickens. It's been truly enlightening.
It's been my pleasure. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep listening to the world around you.
And maybe, just maybe, those chickens will teach us a thing or two about ourselves along the way.